Hey everybody, what is up and welcome back to the channel. And I have a question. Why does every piece of music gear now have to have an app attached to it? Like, it's driving me bonkers that the music industry has gotten so obsessed with apps and having apps on everything that now every piece of gear you buy has an app attached to it. You buy an amplifier and it comes with an app to program it and do stuff with it and adjust it and do all this stuff to it versus just being able to turn the knobs on the thing. You buy a foot pedal or a pedal board or anything like that, there's an app to program it. There's an app to do everything. There's an app to do this, an app to do that. It's app. Why do we have to have an app for everything? Why can't we just keep it simple and actually go up and turn the knobs like on my Orange Crush Pro 120 over there where you just plug it in, turn the knobs, and hit the strings and go, you know? What happened to the days of doing that, you know? Like, I get it, you know, we're into technology, and I'm not trying to knock technology at all because some of the technology is great. I really do it. I love my Boss GT1000, but there's an app for that. That thing has all kinds of apps. It has so much stuff that you can do that I can't even figure it out. It's like you got to be a rocket scientist to use your gear, which is crazy to me. Like, the gear now that's coming out is so complicated that you need a master's degree in freaking rocket science to even be able to set it up and program it. I remember when I got my Boss GT1000, they didn't have a lot of instruction on how to do it, and I had to figure it out. And the one thing that I did is it had a reset all button where you could set it back to the factory settings. So I just started pushing buttons. And I did a 3-part series on how to actually program and set up that thing, which seems to have done really well because people really appreciate it because most people couldn't figure it out. But it took me 2 weeks of sitting there every day for 4 or 5 hours a day pushing buttons to get that video done and figure out actually how to use the stupid thing. And don't get me wrong, I love it, but why are we making things so complicated? I mean, I have pedals, I have some pedals from the older days where you just plugged them in, you dialed in your stuff, and then you could hit save and you were golden. And now everything is an app on your phone. It's an app on your phone, or you plug it into your computer. Well, guess what? I don't want to plug my stuff into my phone. I don't want to plug my stuff into my computer to program it. I want to plug it in and turn the knobs on the actual device that I'm using and dial it in. That's how I like to do things. But now we're in this generation of everything's got to have an app, you know. But I will tell you something, and I've learned this over my many years of being here, in the time that I've been here and the time that I've been playing. The more complicated you start making gear and the more wires and technological stuff you start putting into it, the more problems you're going to end up having down the road. You know, I'm very much a keep it simple, stupid guy when it comes to things. Now, I like tech, and I like the fact that you can get a Boss GT1000 or a Boss GT100 or some of these pedal boards or a Quad Cortex or something like that. You can set it up and program it, and then you can use that for your whole rig. I think that stuff is awesome. Being able to downsize your gear so you can not have to, when you're doing travel stuff and having to go out there and stuff, makes it a lot easier when you're a touring musician and gigging. And I think that's super cool, but you still don't have to make it complicated because now, like, even with these Boss GT1000, all these different pedals and all these different things come out, they put so many effects and so many things in there, it's like overwhelming to the average person or even somebody like me that's been playing a long time. I was like, I don't need 100 different reverbs, 100 different courses, 100 different delays, 100 different amp and cab sims. I don't need that, you know. One thing I like about the Boss amplifiers is they have, you know, even though they have apps too and stuff, it has about 6 different like amps that you use, and you can program other stuff, but you know, you really don't need that much stuff. You don't need 100 of this or 200 of that. You know, you need a couple different. I can't even speak. You need a couple decent amp cabs and heads. You need a couple decent effects, and you're off to the races. You know, so you don't need. I don't need 100 reverbs, 100 courses, 100 delays. You know, 100 of this, 100 of that. You know, you only need a few of those. I mean, if they would cut that down to maybe like 10 of each, that would be great. Hell, cut it down to 20 of each. That would be fine, you know. But just like 10 of each thing, like 10 solid amps that you can use and so that you can dial in, which is the way the old pedals used to work. And maybe I should do a video on that because I do have an original Line 6 floor pod that has the different amps that you could dial in, cleans and stuff. You need some good cleans, you need some good distortions, you need some good overdrives. You know, reverb, chorus, delay, you know, flange, octave, whatever effects you want, that's fine, but you don't need 100 of each one of those. And when you dive into these, I mean, there's so many effects in there, you're never going to use them all. I mean, I literally use, I mean, for me, I have clean, I have distortion, I have a lead channel. I have a lead and rhythm channel on there, and then I have one channel for mine. I have 4 things set up on 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 things that I use. I have a clean channel. I have my rhythm channel. I have a lead channel that doesn't have effect in it. Then I have a lead channel that has a wah effect in it, and then on the far end I have a distortion with an octave in it, and that's what I have. And it's actually my 5th one is actually set up as a Van Halen tone now. That I use. So when I just want to go Van Halen, I just step on my 5th one and I get that Van Halen tone out of it and stuff. And that's what's set up on there. But that's it. And this thing has hundreds of things in it, and I don't use any of it. I don't use any of it. And on my clean channel, I use a 12 string effect with a chorus and a delay on it. That's what I have on the clean channel, and that's it. You know, nothing fancy. I've got an amp and cab set up in there for each one of those as well. But it's nothing crazy. And we've gotten so complicated with this stuff that it's just like, you know, you go buy this gear and then you got to spend months trying to figure out how to use it. And the other thing that drives me crazy is they don't do manuals anymore. Like Boss used to give you this. I have a Boss ME70 over there, and it came with a manual that thick, so it told you everything it could do. And now when you buy it, they give you a little basic start manual that doesn't tell you squat. And then you have to go on the computer and download the PDF file. I mean, I don't want to download a PDF file. I want a book that I can open up and look and set it in my lap when I'm doing things. I don't want to have to look at a computer screen. Everything is linked to a computer screen now. And for the money, when you're spending $1,000+ for a dang pedal board, they can afford to put in a book that tells you how to do everything in that book. And it just drives me crazy because now I got to go download the PDF. I got to print it off, staple it together so I make my own book. And I think that's a bunch of crap. And that's just my opinion. You know, everything doesn't need to have an app. We don't need an app for our amplifiers. I don't need an app for my footboards. I don't need an app for my pedal boards. I don't need an app for my pedals. You know, everything's got an app. Shoot, my drum machine down there has an app. You know, this Boss RC10R, there's an app for that thing. You know, I don't want an app. I just want to turn the knobs. I want to push the buttons and turn the knobs, you know. And it's just crazy to me. It's kind of like, you know, people, you know, give me a hard time about, you know, the fact that I still use a multi-track recorder. Well, you know why I like to use a multi-track recorder? Because I actually touch the faders. I can touch the buttons. I can touch everything. I don't want to look at a computer screen all day. You know, I don't want to use a mouse. I physically want to touch the things I'm doing. And if you've ever been in a studio where you've gotten to do that on a real soundboard and stuff, not somebody that's using Pro Tools on the wall with a computer and stuff, but actually the big soundboards that you can do that and touch the faders, man, it's pretty cool. And I like to record that way. So it's crazy to me that we've gotten to this point where I think it's overkill. And don't get me wrong, because I know some people are going to freak out and they're like, da-da-da-da. I'm not saying that the technology is not bad and it's bad in any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying is that it's getting to a point where it's overkill, where it's so much that you're like, what are we doing now, you know? So for me, some technology is good, but too much is bad. And the more complicated you make stuff, the harder it makes you, you know, be able to use it. And it also becomes a problem when you're playing live. If you're a live playing musician and you have a bunch of complicated crap on your stage and you have problems with it, then you end up having serious issues and you may not even be able to gig anymore, you know. And I still have my pedal boards from back in the day, which are all stomp boxes, that no matter what, even when I go play somewhere and I take my Boss GT1000, my backup is an old stomp box pedal board that I have. That is my backup for if this thing would happen to have a problem or something. I can plug that in and I can go. That's my backup setup, is the old stomp boxes, and I can still play my gig and do my stuff. So let me know what you guys think. You know, I think that it's gotten ridiculous with everything as an app, because we don't need an app for everything. I don't need an app to program my guitar amp. I can go over there and turn those few knobs and dial in my tone. I don't need I can't talk. I don't need an app for my foot pedal board. Just give me a book that tells me how it works. You know, I don't need an app for my distortion pedal. You know, it's a pretty simple thing to use. A couple knobs and I can dial it in. You know, everything has an app. Let's stop putting apps on everything, you know. It's just like, you know, the musicians nowadays, everybody's got to have a laptop to go play a live show. And you got bands out there that like are canceling shows because they don't have their laptops. That's ridiculous to me, you know. And if we're that far to where you can't go do a show because you don't have a laptop, man, maybe go learn how to play. You know, I mean, I get it. You know, people are using laptops to enhance their shows and do all that. And I don't have a problem with it. What I do have a problem with is that if you don't have it and you can't do a show, that's ridiculous. You know, you should be able to play without that technology. You should be able to go raw and still do something, you know. And think about this, the bands back in the day, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, they didn't have all that crap. You know, it used to be you plugged in your guitar to your amplifier and you turned it up to 11 and you went to town, and then you would roll your volume back for your cleans, you know. And now we have all this stuff and it just becomes overkill to me. It's the industry is trying to go so far tech savvy that it's becoming overkill. And that's just my opinion. I'm an old school guy. I like to do it the old school way. You know, I do like some technology. Like I said, I got a Boss GT1000 right there on the floor that I use all the time, and I love it. So I do use some of the technology, but I think it's getting to overkill, and it's getting more and more complicated to understand and be able to use. And I don't want to spend 2 months trying to figure out how to program my stupid freaking foot pedal. I want to be able to just plug it in, turn some knobs, dial in the sound I want, and go. And now you're at this point where you have to go get a degree and to learn how to use your gear, which I think is kind of crazy, you know. Not all of us want apps all the time. So anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions, what you guys think about this, because it's something that's been on my mind. And you know, I haven't bought any like new gear in a while because I have all this stuff that I love and I know how to use, and it's great. And I'm going to just keep doing it the old school way, just plug in and play, because I don't need all that stuff, you know. You give me a distortion pedal, a chorus pedal, a delay pedal, and my amplifier and my guitar, and I'm off to the races, you know. Maybe a wah, you know, I'll take a wah too, but that's pretty much all I need, you know, to do what I like to do. So anyway, I like to keep it simple, but things are getting more complicated, and you guys tell me what you guys think about that. Do you like having apps on all your gear and stuff? I know some people are like, it's so much easier to do. So much. I don't want to look at a screen. I physically want to touch the stuff. That's why I love the gear I have, because I can physically touch the gear. You know, I'm always going to be somebody that loves an amplifier. You know, I know that we're getting away from that, and we're getting away from actually having amplifiers because everything's getting condensed down to you can have an amplifier this big, you know, but I still love one of these things right here. You know, I love having that. I love seeing it. I love looking at it, and I love playing out of it. And I love feeling that air coming off of it. So anyway, you guys tell me what you think about the whole thing and how technology is advancing in the music industry. I'd love to hear your comments. Keep it civil, you know, but definitely would love to hear what you guys have to say. Me, in my opinion, I think it's getting to be overkill and it's getting a little ridiculous, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. So you guys tell me what you think about that. I mean, I think the apps have gotten just ridiculous. We don't need apps for everything. You know, we're musicians. Learn how to play your instruments. Keep it simple, get out there, have fun, you know, and make some great music, but it doesn't have to be as complicated as they're starting to make it in the industry. I think we need to get back to some of the basics. That's my opinion, but, you know, hey, I'm an old guy, so what do I know? Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. We'll see you on the next video.